The plaza's rooftop bar had been absolutely breathtaking that October evening. Fairy lights twinkled like stars against the Manhattan skyline, and Central Park stretched out below us like a dark velvet blanket dotted with golden streetlights. White roses cascaded from every surface, their petals scattered across marble floors that reflected the city lights like fallen diamonds. Everyone was dressed to the nines, my family in elegant cocktail dresses and sharp suits, Liam's family looking like they'd stepped out of a magazine spread, our college friends buzzing with champagne and excitement. The moment had been perfect. Liam Rodriguez, devastatingly handsome in his charcoal Tom Ford suit, had just finished giving a speech about how much he loved me. How I was the woman of his dreams. How he wanted to spend forever with me. The crowd had awed as he dropped to one knee and pulled out a Tiffany ring box. My best friend since college, Mia Thompson, stood in the front row wearing the dusty blue dress we'd picked out together just last week. She was dabbing at her eyes with a tissue, playing the role of emotional best friend perfectly. The woman I'd trusted with everything, my passwords, my client information, my deepest secrets. The woman I'd gotten hired at my own law firm. Olivia Garcia, Liam had said in that smooth voice that made my heart race, "Will you marry me?" Every camera phone was pointed at us. My mother was crying happy tears. My father had his hand over his heart. Our friends were practically bouncing with excitement. 150 of our closest friends and family held their breath, cameras ready to capture the perfect proposal. I collected the wireless microphone from the DJ booth and spoke. "You know what, Liam?" I said, my voice carrying clearly across the rooftop and through the speakers. "I have a better proposal for you." I smiled. The kind of smile that would make a shark jealous. "How about you and Mia propose to each other in federal prison?" The silence was deafening. You could have heard a pin drop 40 stories down on Fifth Avenue. 2 hours later, my best friend Mia and just about to be fiancé were begging me not to press charges that will send them to prison. Before we continue, please take a moment to hit that subscribe button if you haven't already. It would mean the world to me to hit my first 100 subscribers, and every single one of you helps me get closer. And while you're at it, tell me in the comments where you're watching from. Your support helps us bring more epic revenge tales. Enjoy listening. For years ago, I was a 28-year-old workaholic who lived on coffee and legal briefs. I'd just bought my dream apartment, a one-bedroom with a view of Central Park that cost more than most people's houses. I was celebrating with takeout Chinese food and a bottle of wine when my realtor, Liam Rodriguez, showed up at my door with champagne and congratulations flowers. "I wanted to personally thank you," he said, that smile lighting up my hallway. "That was the smoothest closing I've handled all year. Most lawyers make the process hell, but you made it easy." One drink turned into dinner. Dinner turned into weekend dates. Weekend dates turned into me falling completely, utterly, stupidly in love with a man who seemed too good to be true. Liam was the first guy who didn't seem intimidated by my success. He celebrated my wins, listened to my work stories, even helped me study for the bar exam in a new specialty area. "You're going to change the world, Liv," he'd say, using the nickname only he was allowed to use. Smart, beautiful, and ruthless in the courtroom. "You're everything I've ever wanted." He fit seamlessly into my life. My parents adored him. He spoke Spanish with my grandmother, helped my father understand investment strategies, brought flowers to every family dinner. My friends loved how he treated me like a queen, how he remembered details about their lives, how he made me laugh after 14-hour workdays. Mia Thompson had been my constant since freshman year at Columbia. We'd been sorority sisters, study partners, roommates through law school. When she graduated near the bottom of our class while I graduated summa cum laude, I felt terrible about the gap in our opportunities. So when Morrison and Associates had an opening for a junior associate, I recommended her without hesitation. "Olivia, I can't thank you enough," she'd cried when she got the job. "You literally saved my life. I don't know what I would have done if I didn't get hired somewhere." Mia became more than my best friend. She was my work wife, my confidant, my chosen sister. When I landed big cases, she was my first call. When I needed someone to vent to about difficult clients, she listened for hours. When I was stressed about making partner, she reminded me how brilliant I was. "You deserve everything good that happens to you," she'd tell me. You work harder than anyone I know. Success looks good on you. I trusted Mia with everything. My work passwords so she could help with research. My apartment keys for emergencies. My financial information when we planned joint vacations. My client details when I needed her insight on cases. She knew which clients had the biggest settlements, which accounts held the most money, which cases I was most worried about. For the past 8 months, Liam had been dropping proposal hints like breadcrumbs. We'd spent 3 Saturdays ring shopping at Tiffany's, where he'd noted my preference for vintage-style solitaires. He'd asked my father for permission to marry me during our family barbecue in July. He'd started conversations about wedding venues, honeymoon destinations, even baby names. "I want to do this right, Lev," he'd said just last week. "You deserve the perfect proposal. Something worthy of the incredible woman you are." My mother had started planning the engagement party. My sister had already claimed maid of honor duties, though I'd promised that role to Mia. My grandmother had begun altering her vintage wedding dress for me, the same dress my mother had worn 33 years ago. Everything was perfect. My career was soaring. I just won a major case that would guarantee my partnership track. My relationship was solid, 4 years of love, laughter, and what I thought was complete honesty. My friendship with Mia was unshakable, years of loyalty, support, and shared dreams. I had everything a successful woman could want. The corner office, the 7-figure salary potential, the perfect boyfriend who was about to become my fiancé, and the best friend who celebrated every victory with me. But perfect lives, I learned, make perfect targets. Liam chose the Plaza's rooftop bar because it was where we'd had our first official date 4 years ago. He'd reserved the entire space, decorated it with white roses and fairy lights, invited everyone who mattered in our lives. The photographer, the videographer, the champagne service, everything designed to capture the moment he got down on one knee and I said yes to forever. Only I wasn't planning to say yes. I was planning to say something that would destroy both their lives and save my own. But I'm getting ahead of myself. Before I tell you how I turned their perfect crime into their perfect nightmare, you need to understand how I figured out that the 2 people I trusted most in the world were planning to frame me for embezzling millions and leave me to rot in federal prison, while they sipped mojitos on a beach in Costa Rica. The first red flag was so small I almost missed it entirely. 3 months ago, Mrs. Patterson, one of my wealthiest clients, called me directly instead of going through my assistant. "Olivia, dear, I'm a bit concerned about the delay in my settlement funds," she said in that polite way rich people complain. "The insurance company approved the payout 6 weeks ago, but my accountant says the money still hasn't arrived." I pulled up her file immediately. According to our system, the $1.2 million settlement had been processed and transferred to her account 2 weeks prior. "Mrs. Patterson, our records show the transfer completed on the 15th. Let me conference in your bank right now." 20 minutes later, we discovered the money had been transferred, but to an account that wasn't hers. Same bank, similar account number, but belonging to something called Patterson Holdings LLC, a company that didn't exist in any business registry I could find. "This has to be a clerical error," I told her, but my stomach was already twisting with dread. "I'll trace this immediately and have your money back within 24 hours. It took me 3 days to untangle the mess. The fake company had been registered using Mrs. Patterson's personal information, but with a different social security number. Someone with access to her file had created an elaborate shell company specifically to steal her settlement. When I finally tracked down the real account, it had been emptied and closed. "Olivia, this looks like an inside job," Detective Morrison from the Financial Crimes Unit told me when I reported it. "Someone with access to your client files and your firm's banking protocols did this." The second red flag came 2 weeks later. I was working late on a Friday night when I noticed someone had accessed my computer remotely at 3 a.m. the previous Tuesday. I'd been home asleep, and my computer had been locked in my office. But someone had logged in using my credentials and accessed the Patterson file, plus 3 other high-value client accounts. I started paying attention to things I'd previously ignored. How Mia always volunteered to work late on my biggest cases. How she'd ask detailed questions about client financial situations that weren't really relevant to her junior associate duties. How she'd always offer to help with filing and paperwork, giving her access to sensitive documents. Then there was Liam's sudden upgrade in lifestyle. New Rolex watch, $15,000 retail. Designer clothes that cost more than his monthly commission checks. A lease upgrade from his modest Honda to a BMW M5. When I asked about his sudden windfall, he laughed it off. Baby, business is booming. I closed 3 luxury condos last month. Sometimes the real estate gods smile on you. But I'm a lawyer who specializes in financial crimes. I know how to trace money. Liam's bank records, which I could access because we'd opened a joint account for vacation savings, showed deposits that didn't match any real estate commissions. Large, irregular amounts from companies I'd never heard of. When I researched those companies, I found the same pattern as Patterson Holdings, shells with fake registration information. The third red flag was personal. I came home early from court one Thursday and found Liam in my home office, sitting at my computer. My locked computer, which required a password only I knew. Hey, babe, he said, quickly closing whatever he'd been looking at. You're home early. What are you doing on my computer? Oh, Mia asked me to print something for her. She said you told her it was okay to use your printer when hers was broken. And she'll drop by and pick them up on her way back. He kissed my forehead casually. Just being helpful. But Mia's office was 2 floors below mine at Morrison & Associates. The firm had dozens of printers. Why would she need to use mine? And how did Liam know my password? That night, I installed hidden camera software on my computer. If someone was accessing it without permission, I'd find out who and when. The footage I captured over the next 1 week changed everything. Video after video of Liam, sometimes alone, sometimes with Mia, accessing my client files. Downloading bank routing numbers, copying settlement amounts, photographing sensitive documents with his phone. They weren't just stealing from my clients, they were building a case to frame me for embezzlement. The smoking gun came on a Tuesday night when I pretended to be asleep. Liam thought I was exhausted from a court case, so he called Mia from our bedroom, thinking I couldn't hear. Everything's ready for Friday, I heard him whisper. The Patterson money cleared into the Costa Rica account. The Thompson settlement hits tomorrow. That's another $900,000. By the time anyone notices the pattern, we'll be long gone. What about Olivia? Mia's voice was crystal clear through his phone speaker. What about her? She'll be too busy defending herself against federal charges to come looking for us. Her own computer accessed all the accounts. Her passwords, her digital signature on the transfers. She'll look guilty as hell. And if she tries to claim she didn't do it? Liam laughed softly. Who's going to believe her? Her boyfriend and best friend will be character witnesses testifying that she'd been acting strangely, talking about money problems, seeming desperate. We've been setting that narrative for months. I lay in that bed, listening to the man I loved plan my destruction with the woman I trusted most in the world, and something inside me went ice cold. Not broken cold. Calculating. They thought they were hunters, but they'd just revealed themselves to prey to someone who prosecutes financial criminals for a living. The next morning, I called Detective Morrison. I need to speak with someone in the FBI's white-collar crime division, I said. I have evidence of an ongoing embezzlement scheme, and I think I know how to catch them in the act. 3 weeks later, Liam was planning what he thought would be our engagement party. I was planning what I knew would be their arrest. Everything was in place. The evidence was collected. The FBI was ready. All I had to do was let them walk into the trap they'd set for themselves. But first, they had to think they'd won. The diamond ring caught the fairy lights as Liam held it up, his knee pressed against the marble rooftop floor. 150 people held their breath, phones raised, waiting for the perfect yes moment that would flood their social media feeds. The city sparkled below us like a jewelry box, and for a split second, I almost felt sorry for what I was about to do. Almost. Olivia Garcia, Liam said, his voice smooth as aged whiskey, you are the love of my life, my everything, my future. Will you marry me? The crowd erupted in anticipatory cheers. Champagne glasses clinked. My mother started crying happy tears. Even the waitstaff had stopped serving to watch this magical moment. That's when I stepped forward and gently took the wireless microphone from his other hand. You know what, Liam? I said, my voice now amplified across the entire rooftop. Before I answer that question, I think everyone here needs to hear something really important. The crowd's energy shifted slightly. Confused murmurs rippled through the designer dresses and tailored suits. Liam's confident smile faltered just a fraction. "Olivia, what are you doing?" he whispered, still on one knee, still holding that $50,000 ring. I pulled out my phone and connected it to the venue's sound system with one smooth swipe. "Ladies and gentlemen," I announced, "I want you all to hear exactly what kind of man Liam Rodriguez really is." Mia's face in the front row went from glowing with happiness to stark white terror in the space of a heartbeat. She knew. She absolutely knew what was coming. I pressed play. Liam's own voice filled the air, crystal clear through the professional speakers. "The Patterson account transfers tomorrow. That's another $1.2 million. Stupid Olivia is literally funding our new life in Costa Rica, and she has no idea." The crowd's collective gasp was audible. Heads turned toward each other, people looking around in confusion, trying to process what they'd just heard. But the recording wasn't finished. Mia's voice came next, bright with laughter. "I can't believe she recommended me for the job at her own firm. She's literally paying me to steal from her. God, she's so pathetically trusting." "Trust makes people stupid," Liam's recorded voice agreed. "By the time anyone figures out the money's gone, we'll be sipping cocktails on the beach. And Olivia? She'll be explaining to federal investigators why her computer accessed all those client accounts." The rooftop erupted. Gasps turned into shocked exclamations. Someone behind me said, "Oh my God," loud enough for everyone to hear. Phones that had been recording a proposal were now capturing something entirely different. Liam scrambled to his feet, the ring box clattering to the floor. "Olivia, what the hell? This isn't funny. Turn that off." "Funny?" I tilted my head, still holding the microphone. "You're right. Identity theft and embezzlement aren't funny at all. They're felonies." Mia pushed through the crowd, her face desperate. "Olivia, please. Let me explain. That recording is out of context." "Out of context?" I interrupted, my voice still amplified. "Which part was out of context, Mia? The part where you called me pathetically trusting? Or the part where you laughed about stealing from the woman who got you your job?" The crowd was starting to choose sides. My family members looked murderous. My father had stood up and was rolling up his sleeves. My brother Marcus looked like he was calculating how many punches he could land before security intervened. Liam's family looked horrified. His mother was covering her mouth with both hands. His father was staring at his son like he'd never seen him before. "Everyone calm down," Liam shouted, but his voice cracked with panic. "This is a misunderstanding. We can work this out privately." "Privately?" I laughed, and it wasn't a nice sound. "Like how you privately stole $4.2 million from my clients. Like how you privately planned to frame me for your crimes." The silence that followed was deafening. "But wait," I announced cheerfully, "there's so much more to share with all of you wonderful people." I pulled out a tablet and with one tap, the venue's massive display screen, originally meant to show our engagement photos, lit up with bank records. Account numbers, transfer amounts, dates, times. A paper trail of theft so comprehensive it looked like a PowerPoint presentation. "Ladies and gentlemen," I said, gesturing to the screen like I was giving a closing argument in court, "may I present Patterson Holdings LLC, Thompson Consulting Services, and Garcia Investment Group. 3 shell companies registered in the past 8 months using stolen client information." The screen scrolled through business registrations, all showing Liam's signature next to forged client identities. Each company linked to offshore accounts. Each account showing massive deposits from my firm's client trust funds. Every single one of these companies, I continued, was created to steal settlement money from victims of car accidents, medical malpractice, and workplace injuries. People who trusted me to fight for their compensation. Mia tried to push toward the exit, but my cousin Jennifer blocked her path. "Going somewhere?" Jennifer asked sweetly. She'd played volleyball in college and still looked like she could bench press a small car. "This is insane, Olivia." Mia's voice was shrill with panic. "You're having some kind of breakdown. This conspiracy theory." "Conspiracy theory?" I tapped my tablet again. The screen switched to security footage from inside Morrison and Associates. Timestamp, 11 p.m., 3 weeks ago. There was Mia at my desk, copying files onto a USB drive. "Interesting theory. Let's test it." The footage continued. Mia photographing client bank information with her phone. Mia accessing computer terminals she had no authorization to use. Mia meeting Liam in the parking garage and handing him manila envelopes full of document. This one showed Liam and Mia in what was clearly a hotel room. But they weren't just having an affair, they were surrounded by my client files, laptops open, counting stacks of cash. 2 years, Mia's voice from the video was perfectly audible through the venue speakers. 2 years of playing best friend to that naive little princess. But it's finally paying off. Literally paying off, Liam's recorded voice agreed. $4.2 million should buy us a pretty nice life in Costa Rica. The crowd was in complete chaos now. My family members were shouting threats in Mandarin, Spanish, and English. Liam's relatives looked like they wanted to disappear into the marble floor. Our college friends were recording everything, phones held high, capturing every moment of the destruction. But wait, I called out over the noise, we haven't gotten to the best part yet. I tapped the tablet one more time. The screen filled with text messages between Liam and Mia from just last week. Liam. Can't wait to get rid of her. 2 more days and we're free, and we'll finally be together. Mia, I deserve her life more than she does. Always have. Liam, the engagement party will be perfect cover. While everyone's celebrating, the final transfer happens at midnight. Mia, by tomorrow night, she'll be under federal investigation and will be on a plane. Justice served. Liam, justice? Baby, this isn't justice. This is just taking what should have been ours all along. My mother gasped so loudly it was audible over the crowd noise. Mija, she whispered, her hand pressed to her heart. My father looked ready to commit murder. Ese cabron, he growled, starting toward Liam. I'm going to kill him with my bare hands. Papa, no, I said calmly into the microphone. Prison orange would clash with your skin tone. Even in the chaos, that got a few nervous laughs. Liam was backing away from the crowd now, his expensive suit wrinkled, sweat beading on his forehead. This is entrapment. You set us up. Set you up. I raised an eyebrow. I didn't force you to steal millions of dollars. I didn't force you to create fake companies. I didn't force you to sleep with my best friend while planning to destroy my life. Mia was crying hysterically now, mascara streaming down her face. Olivia, please. I never wanted it to go this far. I was jealous, okay? You have everything, the perfect job, the perfect life, and I have nothing. You had my friendship, I said quietly, and for the first time, my voice cracked just a little. You had my trust, my loyalty, my help with everything. You had a job because I recommended you. You had money because I lent it to you. You had access to my life because I loved you like a sister. I know. And I threw it all away because I'm stupid and selfish and because you thought I was too weak to fight back, I finished. You thought you could destroy me, and I'd just quietly disappear while you lived my life with my money. The crowd had gone silent again, hanging on every word. Here's the thing about underestimating people, I said, my voice growing stronger. Sometimes the person you think is your victim turns out to be your prosecutor. That's when the FBI agents walked onto the rooftop. 3 men in dark suits emerged from the stairwell like something out of a movie. Agent Rodriguez, no relation to Liam, just an unfortunate coincidence, flashed his badge as he approached the altar of destruction I'd created. Ladies and gentlemen, Agent Rodriguez announced, his voice cutting through the stunned silence, FBI. We need everyone to remain calm and stay where you are. Liam went from pale to green in the span of 2 seconds. FBI? Olivia, what did you do? What did I do? I laughed, stepping away from him like he was contaminated. I did what any prosecutor would do when presented with evidence of a multi-million-dollar embezzlement scheme. I called the authorities. Mia tried to run. Actually tried to sprint across the rooftop in heels, but the second FBI agent, Agent Bennett, caught her before she made it 5 feet. Mia Thompson, you're under arrest for conspiracy to commit wire fraud, embezzlement, and identity theft. This is impossible, she screamed as handcuffs clicked around her wrists. We were so careful. We covered everything. You covered everything except the fact that your target was a federal prosecutor who specializes in financial crimes, Agent Rodriguez said, approaching Liam with handcuffs ready. Liam Rodriguez, you're also under arrest. No, wait. Liam backed against the rooftop railing. Olivia, baby, we can work this out. The money, I'll give it all back. Every penny. We don't have to involve the government. Too late, I said, checking my phone. Because right now, at exactly 12 midnight, you're attempting to transfer the final $900,000 from the Thompson settlement to your Costa Rica account. Every head turned to stare at me. Agent Rodriguez smiled grimly. Live criminal activity. We couldn't have asked for better evidence. You're making this up, Liam said desperately. I'm not doing anything right now. I'm here, proposing to you. I held up my phone, showing him the screen. Your laptop, in my apartment, is executing an automated transfer you programmed 3 days ago. My hidden cameras are recording everything and federal agents are currently seizing your equipment. The blood drained from his face completely. See, here's what you two brilliant criminal masterminds forgot, I said, addressing the crowd like I was delivering a closing argument. I wasn't just collecting evidence of your past crimes. I was predicting your future ones. Agent Rodriguez nodded. Miss Garcia has been working with our Financial Crimes Division for 3 weeks. Every piece of evidence, every transaction, every communication has been monitored and recorded. 3 weeks. Mia's voice was barely a whisper. 3 weeks, I confirmed. Since the day I heard you planning my destruction, I've been planning yours. But this is not where the story ends. The FBI agents moved with practiced efficiency, their voices cutting through the rooftop chaos like blades through silk. Liam Rodriguez, Agent Rodriguez said, pulling out an official card, you have the right to remain silent. Anything you say can and will be used against you in a court of law. The handcuffs clicked around Liam's wrists with a sound that seemed to echo off every building in Manhattan. He stood there in his $3,000 Tom Ford suit, diamond rings scattered somewhere on the marble floor, looking like his entire world had collapsed in the span of 5 minutes. Because it had. You have the right to an attorney, Agent Garcia continued with Mia, whose designer dress was now wrinkled from her attempted escape. If you cannot afford an attorney, one will be provided for you. I can't afford an attorney because she ruined everything. Mia screamed, thrashing against the handcuffs like a wild animal. Mascara streaked down her face in black rivers. For years of planning. For years. The crowd stared at her outburst with a mixture of fascination and horror. Someone near the back was definitely still recording. Do you understand these rights as I've read them to you? Agent Rodriguez finished. Liam nodded numbly. But Mia wasn't done with her breakdown. You think you won? She spat at me, her voice raw with hysteria. You think this is over? I'll destroy you. I'll tell everyone you're lying. You'll what? I interrupted calmly, still holding the microphone. Tell them I fabricated FBI agents? Defaked bank records? Hologrammed the security footage? That's when the applause started. Slow at first, just my grandmother clapping from her wheelchair. Then my parents joined in. Then my siblings, my cousins, my law school friends. Soon the entire rooftop erupted in thunderous applause that probably carried down to street level. People were cheering. Actually cheering. Like I'd just won an Olympic gold medal instead of exposing the 2 people I'd trusted most in the world. Olivia. 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 The chant started with my college sorority sisters and spread through the crowd. Even some of Liam's family members were clapping, looking mortified by their son's behavior. I stood there in my elegant black cocktail dress, my hair still perfect from the stylist, my makeup still flawless, while the man who was supposed to be my fiancé was dragged away in handcuffs. I felt powerful. Not broken, not humiliated, not destroyed, powerful. Cameras flashed constantly now. Professional photographers who'd been hired to capture our engagement were instead documenting the most dramatic arrest in Manhattan social history. Phones were held high, recording every angle of Liam and Mia's perp walk. My mother reached me first, her arms wrapping around me like a protective shield. Mi amor, how long have you known? Long enough to protect everyone they were planning to hurt, I said, my voice still carrying through the speakers. My father joined our embrace, his eyes wet with pride and fury. "Mija, you are braver than any soldier I've ever known." Marcus, my younger brother, pushed through the crowd and grabbed my shoulders. "Anna, that was the most badass thing I've ever witnessed in my life. You didn't just dodge a bullet, you turned the gun around and fired it back." My friend from law school, Sarah, appeared at my side with her phone out. "Girl, you need to see this. The video is already trending on TikTok. 2 million views in 45 minutes. I stared at her screen. The moment I'd grabbed the microphone and dropped the first audio bomb was already being shared thousands of times with captions like, "This woman just became my hero," and "Plot twist of the century." As the FBI vehicles disappeared into Manhattan traffic, the crowd of party guests surrounded me like I was holding court. Everyone wanted answers, details, the full story of how I'd orchestrated the most spectacular takedown in engagement party history. "When did you first know?" my cousin David asked, his voice full of awe. 2 months ago, I said, finally setting down the microphone but speaking loud enough for everyone to hear. "Mrs. Patterson's settlement money disappeared first. That's when I started paying attention to patterns." My law school roommate Jessica pushed closer. "What kind of patterns?" "Liam's sudden wealth that didn't match his commission reports." Mia asking detailed questions about client financial information that had nothing to do with her cases. "Unauthorized access to my computer at strange hours." "But how did you collect all this evidence without them knowing?" Sarah asked. I smiled. "I'm a lawyer who prosecutes financial crimes for a living. Hidden cameras are legal in my own office. Financial surveillance is literally my job. Phone recordings are admissible when you're documenting crimes being planned against you." The circle of listeners was growing. Even strangers were edging closer to hear the breakdown of how I'd built an airtight case against my own boyfriend and best friend. "The FBI connection happened 3 weeks ago," I continued. "When I had enough evidence to prove systematic theft, I contacted Agent Rodriguez directly. They'd been investigating similar shell company schemes across the city." 3 weeks. My mother looked stunned. "You've been planning this for 3 weeks?" "Mama, I've been planning this since the day I heard them laugh about destroying my life while they counted stolen money in a hotel room." Marcus whistled low. "Damn, sis. You've been playing chess while they were playing checkers." "More like they were playing tic-tac-toe while I was playing 4D chess," I corrected. "The Costa Rica escape plan? I knew about it before they even booked the flights." "The fake identities? I helped design them by feeding them information through Mia." The crowd murmured with appreciation. "But the most beautiful part," I said, warming to my audience, "was that they were so focused on framing me, they never considered I might be gathering evidence to frame them." My phone started buzzing incessantly around 1 a.m. Notifications flooded in so fast I couldn't read them. Instagram, TikTok, Twitter, Facebook, text messages from numbers I didn't recognize. "Olivia," Sarah said, holding up her phone with wide eyes, "you need to look at this." The TikTok video of my microphone moment had exploded. 5 million views and climbing. The comments section was moving so fast I could barely read individual messages. "This woman is a literal queen crown. Plot twist of the century. Better than any Netflix show. Using your law degree to destroy the people who betrayed you? Iconic." She really said, "I'm not your victim, I'm your prosecutor," and meant it 100 points. Twitter was even more intense. Hashtag proposal revenge was trending nationally. Hashtag lawyer justice had over 200,000 tweets. Hashtag Olivia Garcia was being retweeted by verified accounts I'd only dreamed of interacting with. "Oh my God," I whispered, scrolling through the endless stream of support. "This is insane." But it was just the beginning. By 3 a.m., news outlets were calling. "Brilliant attorney exposes boyfriend's $1 million fraud scheme at engagement party," was the headline on every major news website. Legal experts were weighing in on Twitter. This is how you use legal training in real life. Absolutely masterful evidence collection and timing. Talk show hosts were posting reaction videos. "I've seen revenge stories, but this woman turned her engagement party into a federal sting operation. Respect." Even celebrities were sharing the video. The comments kept coming, thousands upon thousands. My ex cheated on me, and I wish I'd had your courage to expose him publicly. You're inspiring every woman who's ever been betrayed. Thank you for showing us what strength looks like. The way you stayed calm while dropping nuclear bombs of evidence? Legend behavior. This isn't just revenge, this is justice with style. By morning, major media outlets were running full segments about the proposal that became a federal bust. Legal analysts were calling it the most sophisticated civilian investigation in recent memory. Women's rights advocates were praising it as an example of using intelligence over emotion to seek justice. My phone rang at 7 a.m. Ellen Altentop's production team. Miss Garcia, Ellen would love to have you on the show next week. She thinks your story represents everything powerful about modern women taking control of their lives. Ellen Altentop wanted to celebrate my revenge plot on national television. I looked around at my apartment, the one Liam and Mia had been planning to steal from me, and smiled. I'd be honored, I said. Because sometimes the best revenge isn't just justice. Sometimes it's becoming an inspiration to millions of women who refuse to be anyone's victim. The week after what the media dubbed the proposal heard round the world, my phone didn't stop ringing. Book agents, documentary producers, speaking bureaus, talk show bookers, everyone wanted a piece of the woman who'd turned her engagement party into a federal sting operation. 3 different publishing houses were in a bidding war for my memoir rights. Harvard Law School invited me to speak at their symposium on financial crime prevention. The partnership at Morrison & Associates was made official 2 weeks later. At 32, I became the youngest named partner in the firm's history. The announcement came with a corner office, a 400% salary increase, and my own team of junior associates. Olivia Garcia represents everything we want this firm to be, William Morrison announced at the press conference. Brilliant, ethical, and absolutely relentless in protecting our clients' interests. Client testimonials poured in. Mrs. Patterson sent a handwritten note. You didn't just save my money, you saved my faith in people. The Thompson family invited me to their son's wedding. The workplace injury victims whose settlements Mia had targeted created a scholarship in my name. But the most transformative moment came when I used the money I'd saved for my wedding to take that solo trip to Italy I'd always dreamed about. Florence, Rome, the Amalfi Coast, 3 weeks of discovering who I was when I wasn't defining myself through other people's opinions of me. You look different, my sister Emma said when I returned, tanned and relaxed and carrying Italian leather boots I'd never have bought before. Happier. More, yourself. She was right. I'd learned to eat dinner alone without feeling pathetic. I'd learned to enjoy my own company. I'd learned that betrayal, while painful, could also be liberation from relationships that were never serving me anyway. The speaking engagements started small, women's professional organizations, law school graduations, but grew into something bigger. Women would approach me afterward with tears in their eyes. Your story gave me the courage to leave my abusive husband. I started investigating my business partner after hearing your speech. Turns out he was embezzling. You saved my company. My daughter was being bullied, and your message about using intelligence over emotion helped her handle it perfectly. That's when I knew I had to do more than just tell my story. I started the Phoenix Foundation for Financial Fraud Victims, providing legal resources and emotional support for people whose trust had been weaponized against them. The foundation grew faster than I'd ever imagined, funded by donations from people inspired by my story. You're not just helping individuals, my assistant Marcus explained during one of our foundation meetings. You're changing the conversation about betrayal. Instead of shame and silence, you're promoting intelligence and action. The messages never stopped coming. Women from around the world sharing their own stories of betrayal, revenge, and recovery. Teenage girls thanking me for showing them what self-respect looked like. Mothers saying they were raising their daughters to be like me, smart, strong, and unwilling to accept less than they deserved. I had no idea, I told Sarah during one of our monthly dinners, that my personal revenge plot would become a movement. The most surprising transformation was how I approached relationships. Not just romantic ones, but all relationships. I stopped ignoring red flags because I wanted people to like me. Trust, but verify, became my new motto. Ronald Reagan's phrase applied to foreign policy, but it worked perfectly for personal relationships too. The woman who'd stood on that rooftop 8 months ago, waiting for a proposal from a man who was planning her destruction, felt like a stranger now. She'd been naive, trusting, willing to overlook inconsistencies because she wanted love more than she wanted truth. The woman I'd become was still loving, still generous, still trusting. But now that trust had to be earned. And anyone who wanted access to my life, my heart, or my resources had to prove they deserved the love of a woman who knew her worth and wouldn't settle for anything less. I'm writing this from my new penthouse apartment in Tribeca, 18 months after the night that changed everything. The view of the Hudson River is spectacular, but more importantly, it's mine. Bought with money I earned, not stolen, not borrowed, not dependent on anyone else's approval or presence. Liam Rodriguez was sentenced to 7 years in federal prison. No possibility of parole for 5 years. His luxury lifestyle, his charm, his Tom Ford suits, none of it impressed the federal judge who called his crimes a calculated betrayal of personal and professional trust. Mia Thompson got 5 years and permanent disbarment. The woman who once dreamed of partnership at a prestigious firm will be starting over at 35 with a felony record and no professional credentials. Meanwhile, my life has become everything I never dared to dream it could be. I found love again. Not in New York, not in the high-pressure legal world, but in a small cafe in Florence where a kind Italian chef named Marco asked me about the book I was reading. We've been taking it slowly: video calls, thoughtful emails, visits when our schedules allow. He knows my story, respects my boundaries, and has never once asked for my passwords. They thought they were stealing my future, I told the audience at my last speaking engagement. Instead, they gave me a better one. They thought they were destroying me. Instead, they revealed who I really was underneath all that naive trust. The truth is, Liam and Mia didn't ruin my life that night on the rooftop. They freed me from a life I'd built around people who didn't deserve me. Sometimes the greatest gift your enemies can give you is showing you exactly who they are before it's too late to do something about it. Trust your instincts. Use your skills. And never, ever let betrayal define your worth. You're writing your own story. Make sure you're the hero.